today. It is unclear if Magistrate Abigail Beaton will give her final ruling today or not. It's the fourth week that Panayiotou has been behind bars. He's accused of masterminding the murder of his wife Jade last month. Now, Janine Lee, as always, joins us from Port Elizabeth. She's been following this case very closely the last couple of weeks or last month. Good morning once again, Janine.
Good morning to you, Eben from Port Elizabeth.
The friendly city. The magistrate. Is she going to rule at some point today or the next couple of days on the bail application, Janine, you think?
Look, Eben, Court 26 in the Magistrates' Court is a bail application court. So the magistrate wants things to move quickly. She was highly irritated last week when it was this whole stop-start affair, because what she said was, apart from Christopher Panayiotou, there are a whole lot of other accused that are actually waiting to see if they get bail. And she said that's their constitutional right. So she doesn't like things to not get going. So I think today, with the closing arguments and heads of argument from the state and defence, I think those things are going to move along pretty quickly today. The only thing is, I think perhaps Magistrate Beaton may take a day or two just to go over all that evidence. There are 5 affidavits that have been handed in. So she's probably going to take a day or two just to look at that. And I think we could expect a ruling this week, but it would be a bonus if it came today.
Now, Janine, we're not even done with the bail application yet, and there's already talk about what evidence will be admissible during the trial. What evidence do you think it is, and how do you think this could or would affect the trial?
Well, as you will remember that last week we heard that chilling, as it was put, evidence of that transcript, the conversation between Panayiotou and the bouncer from his club, who had actually been the middleman to orchestrate this whole hit. Now, everything hinges around that evidence, and the defence has on 2 occasions alluded to it last week, where they said that they don't think that it's going to be admissible as evidence in the High Court. Now, this will be a massive blow for the state, because this was what ultimately led to Panayiotou's arrest. So a lot hinges on whether it will or it won't be. And it all goes around the Criminal Procedure Act 252A. And what this does, this part of the Act deals with entrapment and sting operations. And what the Act says is that the police have to comply with everything that is in the Act. So this will be up for question and debate whether they did or they didn't. And now the Act actually clearly states that when you are going to use entrapment or a sting, what cannot happen is that you set this all up and the person involved or the accused, you actually end up facilitating a robbery or a murder. That can't happen. But the state seemed pretty happy that this did not happen and that they have complied with everything. And the evidence that's going to come out is whether the video recording is this authentic. The machinery will have to be calibrated. So it's almost at that time it's going to be a trial within a trial. But also, this is not your classic entrapment. A classic entrapment would be where a police informer would go undercover and perhaps buy diamonds or rhino horn. So this was a little bit different. But I have heard from sources that because this is such a high-profile case, that in all likelihood the state would be possibly liaising with the National Prosecuting Authority on this one. So we can only hope, Eben, that they've dotted their I's and crossed their T's. Otherwise, you know, if there's a loophole in the law, we all know what happens.
Janine, the other 2 accused, interesting. They're now claiming they were beaten and forced to say things by the police that they didn't want to. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Yes, we have Sizwe Vumazonke. He is alleged to have actually pulled the trigger. And now when he did appear in court a week or 2 ago, we could visibly see one of his eyes was extremely swollen. But the police said that during his arrest there was the scuffle and you know, somewhere along the line this had happened. So that would account for the bruising on his face. Now we have Lutanda Sayoli, the bouncer. He's now claiming that he was also beaten up by the police and that just at the time of his arrest, he was arrested and then he was taken away from his family and he wasn't given access to legal counsel. So if this is proved to be true, then that evidence from Sayoli and Vumazonke there again, will not be admissible. So we can only wait and see and how this all gets tried and tested, and if that is indeed the case.
Thank you very much for giving us an update there. Janine Lee coming to you live from Port Elizabeth, giving us, well, the juice ahead of the bail application there of Christopher Panayiotou. He's in the Port Elizabeth Magistrates Court for the continuation of a bail application there. Now, my